anything but normal. We saw superstars born, records broken, a new generation of players being born right before our very eyes. And yeah, Luka Doncic is on the Lakers now.
Long lead, Luka, LeBron James! LeBron needs help. He finds Luka to beat the clock. Game that he played for Doncic. And chance of fire Nico.
Fire Nico! Fire Nico!
A single decision can completely reshape the destiny of a franchise. One day you're riding high with an emerging superstar, feeling confident that no one can knock you off your perch, but it doesn't pan out. Fans go from ecstatic to furious, analysts unleash a torrent of criticism, and you're left with nothing but regrets. And in the midst of this, the playoffs are just around the corner, and for many of these teams, these upcoming postseason battles might make or break their entire strategy. If they succeed, all the naysayers will have to eat their words, but if they fail, the ripple effects can be catastrophic, echoing through the NBA for years to come. People were quick to call the Luka trade one of the worst trades of all time, but many people seem to forget the next possible MVP of the league was involved in a trade that could possibly set one franchise back decades and build another one for years to come. These moves shocked the world when they happened, but what makes them even more fascinating is how pivotal they are right now. All of these teams involved in blockbuster moves are going into an absolute war zone that is the Western Conference playoffs. And how these squads perform in the playoffs could cement these trades as either brilliant strokes of genius or some of the worst decisions ever made. LeBron James and Luka Doncic could run the table, or they'll slip into mediocrity. The possibilities are endless, and the future of the league may very well be unfolding in front of our very eyes. It was 2017, going into a postseason loaded with talent, and the Oklahoma City Thunder were pinned as the dark horse contenders who might finally break through. They had Russell Westbrook, who was fresh off averaging a triple-double, Carmelo Anthony, a now Hall of Famer, albeit in the twilight of his career, and Paul George, a dynamic two-way force who chose to stay in OKC rather than sign with the Lakers in free agency. And that decision surprised a lot of people, who assumed George was Hollywood bound, but he believed in the Thunder's potential to compete right away. But then it all started to unravel.
Into Adams. Now here he comes around Paul George. Got Gobert up in the air, didn't get the foul call.
Oh boy.
He was looking to draw the hit. It wasn't meant to be for Russell Westbrook.
Despite high hopes, the Thunder couldn't get over the hump in the playoffs. They were bounced by the Utah Jazz in the first round one year, the Portland Trailblazers in another, and it just seemed that the West was too stacked for them to break through. Eventually, frustration set in. George was getting tired of the playoff disappointments, and somewhere in between that, he caught wind that Kawhi Leonard was eyeing the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers, desperate to land Leonard, realized they likely needed another star, a place to seal the deal, and George was that missing piece. They traded a fortune of draft picks and threw in two key players, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had just completed a promising rookie year, and Danilo Gallinari, but that clearly wasn't enough, because they had to throw in 5 first-round picks, 2 of which turned out to be Jalen Williams and Jaime Jaquez. It was an all-in move driven by the idea that, with George and Leonard teaming up, the Clippers would have 2 of the best perimeter defenders in the league, plus 2 prolific scorers who could carry the offense in crunch time. And for a franchise that had never been to the conference finals, the vision of having Leonard and George on the same roster was too tempting to resist. Fans in Los Angeles, at least the ones wearing Clippers colors, saw the trade as a bold step toward a potential dynasty, while OKC began a transformation. Overnight, the Thunder went from a team vying for a playoff run to a team pivoting toward a rebuild. For many, it felt like the end of an era, but for the Clippers, it felt like a prophecy of championships to come.
George on the pull-up, nails a 3. Paul George answers.
I'm out. 4:25 to play. George.
Oh my goodness! A swiveling Skywalker!
Oh, another steal by Kawhi. Back the other way.
Little did either side realize how winding the journey would be, and how uncertain success can become once it's put to the ultimate test, the NBA postseason. But in the 2022 postseason bubble, the cracks began to show. The Clippers famously blew a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets, sending shockwaves throughout the league. The meltdown was partly blamed on George's inconsistent shooting and an overall lack of chemistry. The following year, injuries plagued the roster, and in subsequent playoffs, the same storyline kept rearing its head. Whether it be Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, or both, they were always sidelined at critical junctures. But fans had no idea what was yet to come. In an unexpected twist this past offseason, Paul George walked away from the Clippers and signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. After sacrificing an entire bundle of first-round picks, plus young talent in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Clippers saw George leave town without netting them a championship or even a finals was overshadowed by the reality of repeated injuries and missed opportunities. Thunder fans began to warm the trade. Sure, losing Paul George initially felt like heartbreak, but as they watched SGA evolve and as they tallied how many first-round picks were coming their way, a sense of optimism sprang up. What if in a few years all those picks and prospects came together to form the next championship core in Oklahoma City? The argument that the Clippers paid too much gained traction. People started to wonder if the risk outweighed the reward, especially when the reward, an NBA Finals appearance, remained elusive. Now the stakes are even higher because the Clippers have made the playoffs again. They're still grappling with injuries, but they've got enough talent that some analysts believe they can make a run. If they flame out early though, the noise about this being one of the worst trades in recent memory will only grow louder. On the flip side, if they somehow break through the conference finals or beyond, fans will at least see a glimmer of hope that all those sacrificed picks and future assets weren't in vain. This season's playoffs could define whether the Paul George experiment is remembered as a reckless gamble or a delayed success that just needed time and patience. If the Paul George trade was one shock, then the move that sent Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis was practically an earthquake. For years, Doncic looked like the heir apparent to the NBA's biggest superstars. He was the engine driving the Dallas Mavericks, piling up triple-doubles, hitting game-winning shots, and drawing comparisons to legends. Mavs fans were convinced that he was going to be their franchise centerpiece for the next decade or more, and so was he. But as each season passed, chatter grew, and some people felt like his defense handicapped the Mavericks. Others said he felt the roster around him wasn't strong enough to compete. And in a move that nobody saw coming, rumors began swirling that the Lakers were interested in adding someone to pair with LeBron James. Meanwhile, the Mavericks might have grown anxious about whether Luka would be capable of staying healthy long term, so the behind-the-scenes discussions heated up. And in a matter of days, the bombshell news broke. The Lakers were sending Anthony Davis to Dallas in exchange for Luka Doncic. The NBA world was stunned. How do you give up on a 25-year-old generational talent? How do you ship out a big man who, when healthy, is arguably a top 10 player of the league? And yet there it was, official in the transaction wire. It was so unbelievable that Shams Charania, the man who broke the news, was being accused of getting hacked. For the Lakers, the appeal was obvious. Pairing LeBron James with Luka Doncic is like blending unstoppable basketball IQ with an unstoppable ball-handling wizard. For Dallas, the rationalization was that Davis could help them shore up their defense and provide a monster presence in the paint. Plus, they wouldn't have to live in constant fear of Luka eventually walking away for nothing. But the backlash was massive. A large section of Mavs fans felt betrayed. They saw Luka as the face of the franchise, a transcendent talent who could bring in multiple championships if the right pieces were placed around him. And sending him to the Lakers of all teams was like a gut punch. Social media absolutely erupted. Debates about whether this was a short-side panic move for Dallas or a stroke of genius. Meanwhile, Lakers fans were pinching themselves, wondering if they just stumbled into a scenario that would keep them relevant well into the post-LeBron era. Yet, as with all trades, nothing is guaranteed. The Lakers might have snagged a future legend, but they also have to consider the chemistry issues and the question of how LeBron and Luka would mesh on the court. They're both ball-dominant players, used to orchestrating every aspect of the offense. Could they adapt and elevate each other's game, or would it be a messy overlap? On the Dallas side, Anthony Davis was a high-risk, high-reward piece. If healthy, he could turn the Mavs into a defensive powerhouse. If injured or inconsistent, the Mavs' entire experiment could crash and burn, leaving them without Luka or a stable future to look forward to. For a brief moment, the entire NBA overshadowed everything else to talk about this blockbuster. And then people started doing what they always do, looking ahead, analyzing schedules, and predicting postseason outcomes. Will the Lakers become a favorite to come out of the West, or was the pairing of LeBron and Luka too brand new to gel in time for a deep playoff run? The immediate reaction was that one side would definitely regret this decision. But the question was, which side would it be? Now, with the playoffs just days away, there's a buzz in the air. All four teams tied to these two massive trades, the Clippers, Thunder, Lakers, and Mavericks, are in the postseason mix. Everything they've been building or dismantling over the past few years culminates here, in a league where narratives can flip overnight. Each team's performance in the playoffs has the potential to either silence critics or validate them. LeBron James is inching closer to the twilight of his career, but he's still playing at an incredibly high level. Adding Luka Doncic has given them a boost of energy and a brand new playing style. If the Lakers manage to secure a championship this season, it instantly transforms the trade into a masterstroke. At that point, people will say the Lakers pulled off one of the most lopsided deals ever, turning an injury-prone Anthony Davis into a budding superstar who helped LeBron grab his 5th ring. For Luka, that would be his first championship at just 26, signaling the dawn of a new super duo that could lord over the NBA for years to come. On the flip side, consider the Dallas Mavericks predicament. They let go of one of the most exciting young players in the world. If they blow out in the first or second round without a spirited fight, the criticism will be deafening. Fans may never forgive the front office for allowing Luka to leave, especially if the rumors are true that the whole situation could have been avoided with better roster building or conflict resolution, as the Mavs might struggle to sign big names with a reputation for questionable front office moves. Shifting the focus back to the Paul George saga, the Clippers also find themselves at a crossroad. Paul George is now gone, their future is anything but clear, and the man they gave it away for isn't even on the team anymore. If the Clippers manage to make a deep run, say reaching the conference finals or even the finals, fans might breathe a sigh of relief. At least then, they have proof that the initial trade wasn't a complete waste. Sure, the Thunder might still profit in the long run, but the Clippers can claim a measure of success in the present. A ring or even a finals appearance would go a long way towards silencing the narrative that they gave away the farm for nothing. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the quiet winners of the Paul George deal so far. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has blossomed into a genuine superstar. If the Thunder make a surprising playoff run behind the extraordinary talent of SGA, there's a possibility that he could shape the entire MVP conversation. Imagine the storyline: the small market Thunder leveraging a trade that was deemed a surrender at the time into a future face of the league scenario. If they advance advance further than anyone expects, you might hear more voices calling it one of the biggest fleeces ever, especially since they hold a war chest full of first-round picks. For every one of these teams, the playoffs holds the key to vindication or condemnation. The margin between success and failure is razor thin, and the difference between a surprising Cinderella run and an early exit could seal a legacy. That's why fans are on edge, players are locked in, and front offices are praying that their bold moves don't blow up in their faces. This postseason could be the moment we look back on years from now that crowned a champion or sank a franchise in regret. Beyond the immediate playoff drama, these trades have set in motion ripple effects that can define the NBA for a generation. If the Lakers do pull off a championship with LeBron and Luka, it will create a new model. Combine an aging legend with a young phenom, bridging the gap between eras. That might inspire other teams to go hunting for cross-generational partnerships, hoping to replicate that chemistry. It could also empower superstars to leverage their influence in orchestrating moves behind the scenes. For the Mavericks, the consequences of failing after parting with Luka Doncic are almost too terrifying for fans to contemplate. And as for the Clippers, the long-term impact of the Paul George trade is tightly entwined with Kawhi Leonard's future. There's a big sense that he has a limited window to deliver a title. If they fail, the Clippers will have lost out on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's potential prime, plus a horde of first-round picks. Rebuilding without those assets could be brutal. Some fans will remain skeptical, but a tangible achievement could silence critics beyond any press conference or a statement ever could. On the other side, the Thunder are happily playing the long game. With SGA leading the charge, plus a mountain of draft picks and intriguing young players, OKC could literally shape the league's landscape over the next decade. If they find another star or two in the draft, or use those picks to trade for one, they could be the next big super team that emerges seemingly overnight. Their playoff performance this year might be a preview of how dangerous they could become. If SGA truly is an MVP level talent, and if those around him keep developing, the Thunder might turn the George trade into one of the greatest hauls in modern NBA history. All of these storylines hinge on what's about to happen in the postseason. It's like a massive drama playing out in the world's biggest basketball stage. And that's why these trades haven't left the spotlight. They're not just historical footnotes, they're living, breathing decisions that will be tested under the harsh glare of the playoff lights. In a matter of weeks, we might have a clear picture of whether the Lakers are unstoppable, the Mavs are doomed, the Clippers can finally break through, or whether the Thunder are about to shock us all. So as you watch each series unfold, keep an eye on how these stories intersect. In the end, what truly matters isn't just the names on the roster, but how those names play together when everything's on the line. That's the beauty of the NBA. Every trade is a gamble, and the playoffs are the ultimate test of whether the risk was worth it. Maybe these deals will go down as fiascos, or maybe they'll stand as strokes of genius. Either way, these high-stakes moves remind us that in professional basketball, a single transaction can change the course of history, rewrite legacies, and spark debates that last for decades. With the postseason at our doorstep, we're about to find out exactly what these trades land on that spectrum, and the truth might be more surprising than anyone ever imagined.